I'm Nathan Berkeley, Associate Vice President for U.S. Strategies at the Religious Freedom Institute, and I'm here at the International Religious Freedom Summit 2025 in Washington, D.C., and I'm joined by Graham Glover, RFI's Chaplain Fellow. Graham, welcome.
Thank you, Nathan. Great to be here.
Thanks. It's great to have you. I want you to talk a little bit about your background. You've served in the United States Army, you've been a chaplain for a number of years, and you've been with us for a number of years. So share a little bit about where you've come from and what you're up to.
Yeah, so where I've come from is in many ways where I am today. A native of Gainesville, Florida. I grew up there, went to the University of Florida as an undergrad, so go Gators. Heavily involved in politics from the very earliest of years, from student government there, state politics. After graduated from UF, I worked as a lobbyist for the university for a couple of years, primarily in Tallahassee. We do have a DC office, but most of my work was on the state level. All the while, kind of fighting this call to the ministry. I've been a member of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod my entire life, and then finally gave in to the Lord, I guess, and went off to Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, where I did my MDiv. After graduating, came back to Gainesville to do another degree in political science at the University of Florida, political philosophy, focusing, as you might suspect, on church-state issues, religious and political thought. Served a small parish just outside of Gainesville. I think the plan then was to probably finish a doctorate and go into teaching, maybe stay in the parish, but this was during the surge in Iraq, 2008. Had a number of my undergraduate students who were going through ROTC, getting ready to go to officer candidate school. I had parishioners whose nieces and nephews and grandkids were enlisting. And I remember coming home one day and saying to my wife, hey, so I think I need to join the Army. She's like, Graham, you're 34 years old. I'm like, yeah, but our soldiers are serving and we need to go. Thought it would be a 3.5-year tour, serve our nation and get out, and here we are 17 years later still serving.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So did 12 years of active duty, stationed all over the world, deployed to Iraq and Turkey and Poland. My final active duty assignment was at the Pentagon as the first government affairs officer. So the then chief of chaplains created a position so that the chaplain corps, working side by side with the Army Office Chief Legislative Liaison, could be more proactive here in our nation's capital, both at Capitol Hill and with NGOs. That's when I was first introduced to the Religious Freedom Institute. Previous president, Dr. Tom Farr, came up and gave a talk at one of our chaplain training sessions, and so worked in this government space. All the while, kind of felt the call back to the parish, ready to go home, and so we left active duty, returned back to Gainesville, Florida, which is again home for me, where I now serve as the pastor of Abiding Savior Lutheran Church and School in Gainesville. Wonderful congregation, large preschool, 190 kids in my preschool, so I have 10 classrooms, but still serve as a chaplain assigned to the office of the Chief of Chaplains here at the Pentagon in a reserve capacity. And since I've been doing that, I've also been serving as a fellow at the Religious Freedom Institute, working with RFI in many of our chaplain-related programs. So, yeah.
Thanks, Graham. So, impressive bio. Two quick follow-ups. How do you see, what drew you to religious freedom as you thought about all the things that you've done? You were drawn to this work, but number two, how do you see religious freedom as intersecting with chaplain's work in the United States military?
Well, let me answer the second question first. I mean, religious freedom is at the heart of what the chaplain corps does. As a parish pastor, my primary responsibility, my sole responsibility, is to the congregation Abiding Savior Lutheran Church, right? And to those who come in, right? We're involved in our community, but I have been called to serve the members and those that want to be members of that church body, right? And I do it to the best of my sinful ability, faithfully every day. As a military chaplain, you are called not just to provide religious support to those of your own faith, in my case, Lutheran, but to service members of all faiths. This is very different than civilian ministry, right? It is my responsibility as a military chaplain to ensure that my Roman Catholic soldiers, my Baptist soldiers, my Pentecostal soldiers, my Jewish soldiers, my Muslim soldiers, even my Hindu soldiers, my Wiccan soldiers, right, all have space, time and resources to practice their faith freely in accordance with their conscience and as a citizen in this great country of ours. And so this is what chaplains do on a daily basis. And if chaplains and service members don't have the ability to practice their faith freely, then we are failing as a chaplain corps, as an army, and I would say as a nation.
Yeah. And Graham, if you were to describe how RFI seeks to equip chaplains in a variety of ways, how would you describe that? What are we up to when we're engaging chaplains and trying to help them navigate the worlds they move and have their work in? How are we applying religious freedom or imparting it to them?
Yeah, so look, the Religious Freedom Institute, I think, is wonderful in so many ways, but what drew me to them and what has kept me working alongside us, right, is I look at RFI as the leading education voice of religious freedom in our country. There are a lot of organizations involved in this space of religious freedom, many of them in the litigation front, many of them in public advocacy, and certainly RFI does a lot of that. But what RFI has is a wealth of academic, diplomatic, institutional knowledge of how to teach people about the importance of religious freedom. We see it from our high school programs, the college programs, the internship programs, all of the educational programs that RFI is involved with. And I see it with military chaplains, and not just military chaplains, but other service members. So RFI has a unique ability to educate chaplains on strategic level and tactical level, issues of how religious freedom is important, how religion is involved throughout the world in national security affairs and political affairs. But it's really RFI, I see them as a tool to help the chaplain corps and all three services understand the issues of religious freedom.
Yeah, that's great. What's next for RFI as we look ahead even to the spring? What are some RFI engagements with military chaplains that are coming up?
Yeah, so for the last several years, we've hosted a cadre of Army War College students that come through in the spring. We'll continue that here in 2025. It's a wonderful opportunity. These are 06 colonel level chaplains, so not just chaplains, but service members, right, of all MOSs, all jobs in the Army, who come down to DC for a week-long immersion program. They come to RFI. We get to share with them about our work and about the importance of religious freedom. RFI has been invited out to Colorado Springs the first week of April for a 3-day conference with some reserve component chaplains in the Army, Air Force, and Navy, where we'll be having a 3-day event talking about religious engagement, the importance of religion and national security, religious freedom issues, both in a domestic and international front. I continue to serve as a chaplain fellow, but there's been 3 others that have, both preceded me and followed me. So we continue to find chaplains in their various services who might be interested in a fellowship at RFI, whether that's 30 days or 3 months or 6 months. We could go on and on, but certainly just lots of opportunities for RFI at various schoolhouses, the Navy Schoolhouse, the Army Chaplain Center and School, to talk with chaplains about this very important issue of religious freedom.
Yeah, great. Well, Graham, thank you for your partnership. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your faithfulness. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan.